You're listening to the Changing Normal podcast, where we strive to outdo the old normal and reject the new normal. And now your hosts, Owen, Dan, and Ben.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Changing Normal podcast. We are on episode 22. It's the 6th of October. The three of us are back together. This week, we're going to chat a little bit about KYC, AML, that Know Your Customer, or anti-money laundering laws in regards to Bitcoin, and just kind of have a little chat about it. We're listening to some stuff personally that I kind of wanted to get Dan and Owen's take on, and hopefully be able to shed some light or drop a few knowledge bombs that might be helpful. And we're also going to chat. Maybe it's not going to be a chat. It's basically going to be a, you bring your 5, I'll bring my 5, and the other guy brings his 5 top gadgets, grab and go gadgets from the homestead. But then we'll just debate or chat about, hopefully it's if it's a debate, it'll be civil, but things might get heated. But
we set out no parameters, so it's like a total free-for-all opportunity.
I was thinking about it. I thought, if this is what we're going to go with, we haven't defined any parameters. This might get very, very interesting. We got a little bit of listener feedback that we'll read out, a boostergram from Fountain. But yeah, this week, Owen, what have you been up to?
Oh, what have I been up to? Not a ton, because I've worked so much, but I did install some better lighting in my storage room. I had the original part of my house, the first part I built, just was kind of one room, and then when we built the rest of the house, we converted that into sort of a back kitchen and storage room, put up shelving and all that sort of stuff. And it just had sort of your typical flush mount style light with one light bulb in it, the sort of globe that sits flush on the ceiling.
Right.
And so it was okay, but for light when there was nothing in the room, but the shelving lines up exactly over one of the lights. So when you pile things on the top of that shelf, it gets dark in that room. So that was starting to get frustrating, because you go in and trip on stuff and you're looking for something and you can't find it and all that sort of thing. So in this addition I'm putting on, building over to my woodshed, I bought some 4-foot long LED lights.
Nice.
And so I bought sort of like a pack of them, and I had more than I needed. So I took 2 of them and wired them into the existing light boxes in the ceiling. And then, but they had a long enough cord I could bring it across and put them in sort of I don't even know how to explain it. The shelving is sort of shaped like a
horseshoe.
Kind of, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, I put it down where you would walk down the little aisle instead of over top of the shelf. And then I've added it as well on the other side where you walk into that little kitchen area. Anyway, long story short, it's very light in there now. So
I didn't even know this existed. Where did that come
pretty
from?
much. It was like pretty much, okay, now we're going to need to clean this room because we can actually see what a mess it is. So anyway, I did that, and then did a little scouting for maybe doing some hunting this fall. And so checked out a couple of fields that I knew about. One person told me about one of these fields, and the other one I sort of knew about already. One has corn in it, one has soybeans in it. And so I just kind of did a little walking around and looking to see what sort of sign I could find. And over the course of the evening in these 2 different fields, I saw 4 bears, spooked a 5th, and saw a deer. So, and then, actually snuck up on 2 bears, younger bears. I think I didn't send the video to you, Dan, did I?
No,
I just sent. No, I'll have to send you the video. Basically, I snuck up on these two bears in this cornfield where they had a bunch of it flattened down, and then they started fighting. And one of them
cuts out.
and one of them beats the other one, and they start to chase. Like one chases the other directly towards me on the edge of the field, and that's where I stopped videotaping. And I should have left it. I should have I didn't, and I should have videotaped it right up to the point where they saw me, which was about 15 feet. And that's when they just went like ass over tea kettle trying to get away. They were so startled because I stopped the video and I had my tomahawk in my hand. So I just kind of raised my tomahawk right about the time they were hitting 15, 20 feet. And that was, it was pretty funny to watch them turn themselves inside out trying to get away.
It's funny. There's foresters and forest techs who go, "Oh, Code Brown, I gotta change my pants." At that point,
yeah, oh yeah, they were little. I could have taken them. They were probably only about 150 pounds tops. So,
this year's cubs or last year's? Do you think?
I'd say last year's.
Last year's, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, once, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, I saw, it would have been the same age, yearlings or whatever. Yeah, I saw two of them kind of in a scrap, and playfully sparring, it looked like to me. But yeah, they were pretty far away. They were about 100 yards from me at the time, but still really cool to watch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was pretty neat. So, yeah, that was kind of what I did this past week.
Dan, how about you?
Me? Oh, more running around, like with his head cut off type stuff. A little bit of working in the woods around the periphery of my property. So I felled a few trees. One big one I had to be a little careful with. It was in range of the shed. So I was happy that one fell where I wanted it to, unlike the one from last Saturday where I hung it up in the maple trees.
It went almost where you wanted it to go.
I missed by 6 feet, yeah. A near miss, right? So some of that, I've been looking around at my backyard and really wanting to start some projects. So I had some markers put out where I'd been sketching my backyard plan and saying, well, maybe this should be the garden plot. And so I've been collecting some material or attempting to maybe start some actual construction. Threw some water seal on the deck which is currently not sitting where I can use it, but preserve it before it rots away, and hopefully I can get that moved back. And I lugged some lumber into my basement, so I got to start some projects in there. That's been my week.
Nice. Well, I'll jump in. I've really been thinking about time preference. I saw a video that I had heard explained before, but it's essentially the speaker has this jar and he puts a bunch of golf balls in the jar, and then he says, "Is the jar full?" And everyone in the room goes, "Yes, the jar is full." Well, then he takes smaller pebbles and he pours the pebbles in, and they all kind of settle in around the golf balls. And he goes, "Is the jar full now?" And everyone's like, "Yes, it's full." And then he takes sand and he puts sand in the jar, and the sand just kind of solidifies all around the pebbles and the golf balls and makes it one full solid unit. And he compares it to, the golf balls are the most important things in your life. The pebbles are the semi-important things, and then the sand is just the peripheral stuff. The things that are kind of here nor there. They don't really, they're in your life, so they're kind of important to you, but they're not the be all end all. And I really got thinking about how that relates to time preference, which is one of the things that we talk about in regards to Bitcoin, or even just in life in general, and how you look at things and evaluate things in your life. And it was really neat to kind of think about how, the golf balls would be like your low time preference, right? And you're putting those things in first. You're making sure that they're in, that they fit fully, because if you put the sand in the jar and then try to put the pebbles and the golf balls in on top of it, it won't work. and it won't fit. So that was it was sobering in the sense that, you know, it just kind of gave me a little nudge in the butt to say, make sure that you're prioritizing right. And so that's the philosophical side of what I've been doing this week. It was the last weekend for me to work for this seasonal term that I'm on. So I was busy all weekend dealing with, everything from poached deer to lost licenses and hunter education courses and stuff like that. People asking questions, and made sure to pick up some license stickers for a friend of mine, and I got the wire hangers for him. Just got to meet up with him and give them to him. And I've been putting in some reps with my bow, and it's a good thing I have, because I killed a squirrel. And the reason I'm late to this podcast recording is because I killed a freaking coon that's been making a mess of the deck. My headphones were in the car, so I had to go out. I was just about to step out the door and go get the car, and I heard just scurrying up the tree. I was like, oh my goodness, that's him.
Self-defense.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, actually in New Brunswick, with the nuisance wildlife acts and regulations, if an animal is on the nuisance wildlife list and it's causing damage to your property, you're able to look after it. Most people just live trap a raccoon, but not around here, baby. One shot and it just tumbled out of the tree, and actually it was so perfectly placed that the way his arm held onto the arrow, I got my arrow back. I wasn't expecting to get the arrow back, but anyway, it's just a coon arrow anyway.
Yeah.
That
awesome.
Now the real question is, are you going to eat it?
You know what?
No. At least skin it and save the hide.
Oh man, the hide is mangled.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, that's the one thing about shooting it with a broadhead, is it's especially when it tumbles out of the tree. Oh my goodness. And then just been working on plans for the addition for the house, but that is that's pretty much it. Just to let people know, if you've got any feedback you want to, something you want us to touch on or discuss or chat about, or if you have some criticism, we will actually read it before we throw it in the recycle bin. But you can send that the good, reliable way of email at changingnormal@protonmail.com, or just comment on an Odysee or YouTube video, or you could also just send us a boostergram or something like that on Fountain. Just let us know what's going on. Fountain's pretty sweet. You can earn some Bitcoin and help support value for value while listening to, because I've been listening to sermons, I've been listening to philosophy and psychology, a whole bunch of different stuff on Fountain, which kind of is interesting that there's podcasters that are on there but aren't entirely sold out to value for value. So you're able to earn, and then you can tweet at them and say, hey, you should sign up for value for value. Anyway, that's enough rambling about Fountain.
I was going to say, we do read snail mail as well, if you can get us that. We're not going to give out any addresses. So
I was just going to say, where are they going to mail it to? Because I ain't putting my address out.
We just need a burner mailbox. The PO box, Station A. Anyway. And one of the podcasts I've been listening to on Fountain is Citadel Dispatch. It's by Matt Odell. And it's part of the Bitcoin privacy course that I've been kind of working my way through, along with the philosophy and theology and things like that. But one of the big things that he talks about and is that he really keys in on, as far as being private with your Bitcoin is whether or not it's KYC, and KYC being know your customer, or then he uses /AML, which is anti-money laundering. And basically that's just the regulations that most exchanges have to follow. There are some who don't do it. But most exchanges have to follow to abide by the guidelines and regulations and laws that the countries may have in place for them to actually transact and accept fiat for Bitcoin. The other big thing that he's a fan of is running your own node. So whether that's through Umbrel or Raspberry Blitz or Start 9 Embassy, those are a couple of the big things for him. But the one episode that really got me wanting to discuss this or just chat about it was a 2.5-hour debate where they actually had someone who was pro KYC and then someone who was very not pro KYC.
And we're going to replicate that debate now.
Well,
but we're going to go 3 hours.
Oh boy. Tomorrow morning is going to come very soon. I just want to get your guys' thoughts because the KYC position was that he wanted to see as many people as possible getting into Bitcoin, raise the adoption rates, get more and more people with some skin in the game. And then,
so I guess the idea is that it's a little bit more accessible if you have sort of mainstream, fully regulated options, and people feel more chill about getting into it. Is that kind of perspective?
Yeah, and just making it easier, streamlined.
Connect to your bank account type thing.
Yeah. It's basically just growing the number of people who have it, and
so he wasn't saying he liked KYC for its own properties. He was just saying that I guess accepting it or dealing with it and just pushing forward anyway helps adoption. Is that right?
Yeah, and I realized the longer the discussion went on that the non-KYC folks in the debate were kind of like they were almost talking over each other a little bit in regards to, he wasn't for the principles of KYC. He was just for the on-ramps and the routes to Bitcoin through KYC, where the non-KYC folks were more just, and I mean, Matt Odell, hit us up on Twitter or Fountain and let us know if we're like totally shooting it. But the non-KYC folks seem to be very against the actual implementation and the philosophy of KYC. And CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, got tossed around a fair bit, things like that. So that part was interesting to me, that it almost didn't seem like sort of a cohesive sort of debate. But I mean, like when it boils down to it, I mean, I'm wearing a ShakePay shirt. I've utilized ShakePay a fair bit. I haven't had any issues with them, aside from losing my 350-day streak. That stung. But that was on me.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't their fault. Well,
exactly.
So
what are your thoughts?
Well, okay, I'm going to go first, Dan. Sorry. So I think as an agorist, someone who believes in the free market and that all participation, all transactions between people should be voluntary, the idea of KYC irks me. So from a philosophical perspective, absolutely, I would prefer that there is no KYC rules for someone to make any kind of purchase for anything.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
That appeals to me as someone who believes in privacy and freedom and government keeping their nose out of people's business. The reality is, in the world we live in, it's more important that people own Bitcoin. So that's where I'm at with it. So while I believe in no KYC is better, I believe owning Bitcoin, that is KYC Bitcoin, is more important than making a big deal with the no KYC.
Yeah. So I guess that's purism versus pragmatism.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it always come back to that?
I don't know. I mean, you have written in the notes here, is it a big deal? And I think there can be an argument can be made that it's a big deal. But most things in life, there can be an argument, some sort of argument made that it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not financial. I have a mortgage. I'm not financially independent in that sense. Is that a big deal? Well, an argument can be made that's a big deal.
Right.
But pretty much everybody in the world is, well, in North America is not financially independent in that way. And it's kind of how you have to do things in our current fiat system. So is it a big deal? Well, it's maybe not as big a deal as, you know, the reality is it's probably not going to be that big of a deal.
Right. There's no point in losing sleep over.
Is KYC Bitcoin, is there the potential there that there could be some sort of abuse and, you know, track down who has the Bitcoin and, you know, try to censor you by making it, you know, a banned, flagging it so that, you know, you can never utilize it? Like, that's the argument you usually hear.
Tainted Bitcoins.
Yeah, tainted Bitcoins that, you know, are KYC. Well, okay, yeah, you can make that argument, and I guess worst case scenario, that's a potentiality for something that could happen. But the reality is that's not I don't think a likely scenario, at least in the short term. And at the end of the day, that Bitcoin is still held by me and still not seizable. It's still not censorable in that sense. And nothing can prevent me from moving that and utilizing it inside the Bitcoin network in a peer-to-peer manner. You know, so right. I don't know. I guess I really do try to find that balanced approach, because we could make anything we do a big deal.
Right.
And try to be purists and basically never be able to do anything because everything has the potentiality for abuse by somebody somewhere someday.
Right.
But we're not there right now. So it's better to own Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think, Dan? You're usually smarter on this stuff than me.
I mean, at its most simple, I'm going to say the optimistic view is we get people on board in the easiest way possible, which currently is through modern banking, you know, which is all KYC. Our exchanges like ShakePay, you know, it's KYC, whatever it is, tracking. And then we figure out how to fix the KYC problem after we have people who have been KYC'd in Bitcoin. If they don't have any KYC Bitcoin, because they don't have any Bitcoin at all, I think the first problem to solve is getting them some Bitcoin.
Right. Well, here's the thing, too. If people have non-KYC Bitcoin because, I don't know, they mined it years ago and forgot about it for 10 years, and then all of a sudden, you know, had access to it again, like, that's fantastic. But if that at any time comes in contact with their KYC Bitcoin, it's all tainted at that point, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
If you end up mixing it,
Yeah.
let it. Yep, potentially. Basically, if I had one wallet address that was KYC'd already, and I dumped non-KYC Bitcoin into the same set of or the same public address, I guess send it to the same public address. Basically, I have tied those two together to my name by putting them on an address that was already a known address.
Yeah. So to keep non-KYC Bitcoin as non-KYC Bitcoin, you have to be cognizant of all of that ahead of time and be very deliberate in keeping it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like keeping the peanut butter out of the jam jar, right? It's like you can't spread the peanut butter and then put the same knife in the jam jar and not expect the butter flavor to be in the jam.
Oh man,
that's pretty good. Pretty good example,
that's
actually.
Really good. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. Jinx, you owe me a Pepsi, a Dr. Pepper. What would be some steps that you might suggest to someone who gets into Bitcoin through KYC and then in some research they get nervous about it and they say, well, I want to change the fact that it's KYC?
Probably coin mixing to hide the origins of the Bitcoin and mix the tracks up, so to speak, is probably the easiest option at this point. So for me, if I'm going to walk myself through that scenario, it's like my Bitcoin is KYC Bitcoin. I bought it through a KYC exchange. It's not a problem because I'm not doing anything nefarious with it.
Yeah,
I'm only hodling. So it's not a big deal, right? But what if I thought, well, maybe it will be a big deal sometime down the road? Well, I'd probably try the Wasabi wallet, because I've heard that that's made some decent progress and it's got pretty good functionality at doing some, I think it's coin mixing, if I'm correct on that. So that might be worth a shot. Is there a better answer at this point than
that? Well, I guess the reason I asked that is I was thinking about what steps may be necessary if a parallel economy happened, but there was no crossover between them. Because I think we've talked about it a little bit, or kind of danced around the subject, if I remember correctly, in previous episodes, where in Bitcoin there's the Bitcoin and then the fiat, and I guess in my mind the presupposition I had was that you could do this, from Bitcoin to fiat, and in my mind having rabbit trail. If I'm going to have Bitcoin that's going to be utilized in ways that it's going to be tied to fiat, then I want it to be in my control, but on a ledger that, well, I mean, it's all on a ledger, obviously, but that there's nothing fishy. There's nothing fishy in the trail.
Clean, like KYC money for certain things.
Yeah. So then
it has no dubious qualities. It's like the exchange presumably made sure it wasn't blacklisted already, and you bought it from them, and they're fully regulated and above board. So you feel confident with that.
Bingo. Yeah. So then that would allow for this interchange of the parallel economies versus what I was thinking about. Like, if you're dead set on no KYC Bitcoin, you got to figure out, I mean, some people probably don't want to be in this fiat economy right alongside the Bitcoin economy, which would make, it seems like it's relatively daunting at first to get to mitigate a process in a way that allows you to have forward privacy or going forward privacy with your Bitcoin, whether it was KYC or not. But the non-KYC would just be strictly relegated to the Bitcoin side of that parallel economy, would it not? Because like Dan said, if you try to jump it into the fiat system by some means, would it not incur more questions than you would like? Because I'm guessing that someone who is wanting that amount of privacy is going to not want that many questions asked about a money.
Yeah, well, I think what you're referring to is kind of the principle of if someone drops a whole lot of money on you, you don't go spending it if you don't want to attract attention type thing. So know what you've got. Yeah, I think this is something that will be more clear in the future as more solutions are developed and we kind of figure this out. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a present solution because, like I said, I'm planning on holding long term, and so
Bottle on.
Yep. I have to up a fair bit from where it is now before I would consider selling any.
I think the ultimate goal here, of course, is to see Bitcoin actually take a status as currency over being considered a property. And once that happens, which I think will happen at someday, then you'll start to see that parallel economy and the interchange between regular currency and Bitcoin become less KYC oriented. It'll still be trackable in some sense, but there will be so much back and forth because then it will be like exchanging from, one country's currency to another country's currency. But because it's digital, it's very easy to do and will happen so much that then it'll really take off as being something that can be spent, and the KYC will become much more difficult, exponentially more difficult, I would think, as that volume increases. But that's not going to happen until we get away from it simply being a digital property and actually becoming you're recognized as a currency. Like, we can recognize it as money because we understand its properties. But by law, what did I say? Property? We recognize it as money because of its properties, but by law, it's actually property, not money.
Yeah.
Right. And so it is treated differently. We have to treat it a little bit differently than a currency.
Yeah. Totally different tax regulations than swapping your Canadian dollars for American dollars, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of interested in clarifying the parallel economy bit, because there is just one economy, right? We're all in the same boat here. But I guess what it really means is, I guess the transactions you do where you have an expectation that all that data is in the hands of large corporations or government, and then this second parallel track you're talking about is basically something that you can feel confident is more private. You have a little more assurance of privacy.
Yep.
Maybe you feel like you need privacy with certain things in your life, and so you're going to maintain some separation and some security. Is that the general idea of what people are getting at when they say parallel economy? Or is it even bigger than that?
Well, you're right. There isn't only one economy in that sense, but there is the sense that a separate economy would be using its own currency. The black market is part of the greater economy in a macro sense, but really the black market is its own economy because it has a totally different pricing structure and how it does business and makes transactions, because it's, underground, it's black, it's illegal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A Bitcoin economy is really saying, well, we're only going to transact with Bitcoin. Therefore, we're going to have a limited number of people and businesses, et cetera, that we will transact with. So it is a different economy in that sense, I guess, because it's a much smaller economy at this point in time.
Okay.
So in the macro sense, yeah, it's all part of the economy. If you look on like the furthest out view from space, right?
Mm-hmm. Kind of a different ecosystem, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way of explaining it. It's a different ecosystem, ecosystem inside the macro economy.
Yeah, similar to how like forested mountain is like next to the plains, and they're not separate. They're not on different planets, but there is distinctions. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. That's a good one. That might be a show title. They kind of talked about onboarding. I guess we're running a little long on Crypto Corner tonight. But there's been some interesting rabbit trails and I've enjoyed it. Hopefully everyone else has too. They talked about onboarding people via KYC versus non-KYC. I just want to get your guys' thoughts on kind of what they were thinking about. Obviously, onboarding via KYC, it's, here's my referral link, or this is the exchange you should use. You need a driver's license and all your identification stuff, and hold up your driver's license, say cheese, and take a selfie video. Versus non-KYC, which to me was a little bit more tedious, but they are like, well, if you really care about, if these people are your friends and family, then you really care about them, then you're going to make sure that you do non-KYC. So like if you go out to dinner, have them pay for dinner and you pay them back in Bitcoin, or vice versa in acquiring non-KYC. Mining is the other one, or going to like a Bitcoin meetup or something like that, because a couple of the options they talked about as far as peer-to-peer Bitcoin purchasing is like HODL HODL or BISC, which I think if not both, at least one of them requires you to actually have some Bitcoin to put up and have it on the site as like collateral or something like that, so that you can actually start making trades with people. So I was just curious. I mean, we've kind of beat this horse to death already, but just like,
well, I think the challenge there is for new people, you want to make it simple, and it's really going to depend on who you're dealing with. There's going to be certain people that are technical or get it already, and those people are going to go, yeah, I'll go that extra mile to get the non-KYC Bitcoin. But some people are just struggling to understand what is Bitcoin and how does it work and why do I even want it? So I think there's different levels, and different people are going to say they're going to be hard pressed just to get KYC Bitcoin, which is probably the easiest to get. If you throw more, and this is why I say it's more important they own Bitcoin than they own non-KYC Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tie it back into.
Yeah.
That main end goal is more people in this game. Yeah. Well, it's not a game. My goodness, why did I say that? Anyway.
Well, it's getting more people invested, not so that everyone else can, profit from it, but so that they can profit from it. It's onboarding people because it's that important to have hold sound money,
Right.
and to have access to it. I've been accused of promoting it because that benefits me. Oh, well, you need more people to buy Bitcoin, so the price will go up so that you can make money. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Like, unless you're coming in and buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on day one, you're not affecting the price any as a retail investor, you know? So, I always try to make that distinction, go, whether you can buy it, you cannot buy it. I don't care. I gain nothing from it. I'm telling you the information because it's important. And looking at the economy and the way things are going with inflation and the devaluation of the dollar, you need to be smart in what you're holding, and not just holding stocks, maybe not just holding precious metals, but holding Bitcoin as well as cash, as well as et cetera, et cetera. And most people, I think, avoid Bitcoin because there's so many myths, and there's just so much bad information out there surrounding it, especially with the whole altcoin world, DeFi world, and all of the foolishness that goes on with some of that stuff. Really muddies the water, I think, around Bitcoin. And so people need a little bit of guidance at the beginning, and getting, like you said, getting some skin in the game, as terrible of analogy as that is, having people having something at stake by owning a little bit, they automatically care more.
Right.
And they'll actually further their education more naturally that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Dan?
I would say, I think even more than getting people to hold Bitcoin, I want them to possess the knowledge of how to use this technology in their lives.
Yeah.
I think the knowledge is what's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, making sure that people hold their own keys. That's that, and as much as the philosophical side of it is equally as important, if not more, for me, but speaking of keys, I'm going to guess that those keys might not be on your top 5 gadget list for the what did you say, Dan? The gadgets to grab for the homestead.
That is one possibility. In fact,
so really, this is a top 5 list of just whatever we could think of right before the show.
Oh no.
Top 5 random things that popped into your head before the show.
Yeah, that could be one way of phrasing it. It could be top 5 things you grab running out of your house. I would find that interesting too.
That would be. I don't have the right list if that's what the parameters are.
We didn't set up any parameters.
But there's no parameters, so
I feel like we should have done it like Wheel Unfortunate style and had people spin, and then they have to come up with a top 5 after the real ones.
This will not be the only top 5 or top 10 thing we do, I think. I like this format. I think this could get really interesting, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be a total fail. We'll have to see.
Well, I'll be completely honest. I've been thinking about top 5 since you first suggested the tool. I mean, you suggested it as a tool idea, correct, Owen?
Yes.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was kind of similar, but a little bit. It actually had some parameters.
Oh boy, I'm not sure who wants to go first? Oh, and you mentioned you had yours. Are we going to take turns? What's our number 1 item?
Do you count down or up?
Well, I didn't prioritize mine in any particular order.
Okay.
I just wrote down 5 things.
All right, we can start with one then.
So do we just each go in turn, or do you want to do like all? Okay. So the number one thing on my list, and this is not, like I say, in any particular order, but the thing I wrote down first, and this is the most gadgety thing on here, in that it's something I make. A water pipe with a check valve on the bottom of it for manually extracting water from your well in the event of a long-term power failure.
What kind of pipe? Metal? Also?
No, it could be plastic. Just a piece of well pipe, just plastic poly pipe.
So do you have one you put in the corner, or?
Yeah. Well, as a plumber, I kind of have this stuff laying around anyway. But in my shop, I have a box with a adapter fitting and a plastic check valve and a 75 feet of pipe or so, sitting there. Okay. And you could use pretty well any pipe.
Well, anytime. So if your pump's out, you really need that water. You just drop it down in there, and then
you just pump it up and down. You just literally lift the pipe and push the pipe down, and lift the pipe and push the pipe down.
That's the beauty of a check valve.
And the check valve will basically hold the water in the pipe as you lift it up, but as you push it down, it will add more water to that pipe, and the water comes out the top of the pipe.
Huh. I did not know that was a thing.
It's a super low tech, inefficient way to get water out of your well. Uses manpower. There's no convenient handle. I've seen some a variation actually on a friend's property. I rigged this up for him because he didn't have any power and he just had a well and he needed water because he was going to be there all summer and just needed a way to get it out. And he didn't have his hand pump yet. He ended up buying a Bison pump, but didn't have it yet and things like that. So I said, well, I can rig you up a way to get water out of there. And so we dropped this down in, and he ended up actually putting an elbow on it and then strapping it to a nearby tree. And then so he could put his bucket underneath and then just move the piece in the well up and down, but the fixed elbow strapped to the tree, would the water would come out there into his bucket. So I've seen a few little variations that make it a little bit more convenient to use. But yeah, it literally can be as simple as just pumping the pipe up and down out the top of the well into a bucket. So, not my preferred method of getting water out of a well, but go buy a cheap $10 check valve and an adapter fitting and a couple clamps and a little bit of pipe and stick it in your storage building, and you have an emergency way to get water to your well if your pump failed or power was out or whatever. Then you could get water out of a pond that way, anywhere where you have to lift water, and you basically can lift it from any depth.
Yep.
That way.
Yeah. I know that system as a foot valve suction intake, because fighting forest fires, that's what it goes on the end of the intake hose on our fire pumps. And that's how you prime the pump. You just make sure the foot valve or check valve is on the end of the hose, punch it in the water source, run the hose back and forth until you get splashed with water, hook it up to the fire pump and fire it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Did we say we were going round table?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, clockwise.
Wait. I was late to this party. Who's where?
That would be you with my screen.
Is it me? Okay. I had gun.
Okay. All right, what gun? Let's be a little more specific.
A shotgun.
Right. Anybody wants to hear the full debate on that can go listen to the show we did. I forget which episode that was.
Pretty sure it's episode 10. This is my boomstick.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm here to recant my belief in the 22, and I have joined Team Shotgun.
Welcome to the dark side.
What, get a red lightsaber?
You get a red shotgun shell.
It's not very gadgety, but I've had this
on the list, though. Oh yeah, my number one, something I find super handy is my DeWalt impact driver. Definitely one of my favorite tools. Anytime you're sinking in a long screw or something, working on a project, it just beats out the regular drill, just hands down by a wide margin. Then of course, I picked up the little adapters, so I can run a 3/8 or 1/2 inch socket in that little chuck and snap the socket on there. You don't want to try to torque or take off anything that is highly torqued. So, use a proper bar or socket set to get it going. But then that'll save you a lot of time if you can just spin your nuts on and off with that. So.
That almost made my list. That's like 6th on my list.
That's 3rd on my list. It's not numbered, but that's in the middle of the list.
That's funny. So my number 2. Okay. Sorry. Yes.
No. No need to apologize, I guess. Batteries. I've been trying to figure out why my 20 volt max impact seems underpowered. Is it batteries?
Well, how many amps does your battery have? How many amperes?
Well, that would just be how long it would last. That wouldn't necessarily affect the overall power. Because like an amp hour is how long.
That's true. But describe the scenario where it seems underpowered.
Punching a 8-inch Torex or timber tight screw through a 2x8 into a tree.
8-inch screw? The drill isn't the right job, but you have the impact driver, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. The impact. The impact.
You need so much torque by the time you're getting anywhere near the end of an 8-inch screw, though.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
I think that's probably on the upper end of what that tool can do. So yeah, I'm not going to be surprised that it slows down a bit.
I just thought it would because we use them for the springboard event in the lumberjack competitions, and you take, and most guys use 8, 10, 12-inch timber tight screws, and you go diagonally down through your block that sits on top of the 9-foot springboard pole, and most of the time it's no problem. But the last competition we were at, I was using mine, and by the what was it? They weren't long. They were like 6 inches, I think, is what the length of the ones that I had brought. By the 5th or the 8th, it was right around 5 to 8 screws. It seemed like the impact was dying, and I'm thinking, my goodness, it shouldn't be. It's like brand spanking new.
Okay, well,
doing this.
If it's because you've been driving multiples, then that could be an amp hour thing, because you're sucking power out of that, and if it's not a high amp hour battery, it's going to die quicker with that sort of extended use.
I've just fixed the things. I don't actually understand the electricity behind them. That was the most tedious job I ever did in that repair shop, was putting a drill chuck back together. Oh my goodness. But anyway, sorry.
Oh, well, I'll just say you should totally try one of the 3/8 or 1/2 inch impacts, the cordless. It could be DeWalt or Milwaukee or whatever, but the
Right.
half-inch has so much torque. It's like slap a 5 amp hour battery in there and just let it fly.
All right, Owen, number 2.
Two.
All right. I have, and honestly, my first 2 are my best. I have the most amazing Coleman lantern. My grandmother bought this. I know I took another one of yours, didn't I? My grandmother bought this for me years ago, just as like a Christmas present or something. Just, how you buy a Christmas present for someone. You're just like, well, it's a Christmas present, right?
Yeah.
It is the best thing. We use it so much around the house. It's like our go-to flashlight when you're just like, oh crap, I need a flashlight. Because it's got 4 lights around it. And each one is detachable. But they all recharge on the base, and they all can turn on the base at once. So you can set it up in the middle of your room when let's say the power goes out. You set it up in the middle of the room. It shines all 4 directions. I don't know. It's maybe like a foot tall, maybe 8 inches in diameter, 6 inches in diameter. Really bright, shines every direction. And then let's say you're like, oh, well, I got to go upstairs, but the power's out and I don't have to go fishing for another flashlight. I can just snap off 1/4 of the light and take with me and turn it on. It's got a little carry handle on it, and it basically has rechargeable batteries in it, and it charges off of the main battery pack. So the main the main lantern takes, I think, I can't remember if it's 6 or 8 D cells.
Oh, wow.
And then each one has AAAs in it, rechargeable AAAs. And I maybe have to change out the batteries like, once a year or something like that. But it lives on the shelf in the back, and it's like the go-to thing. Oh, I got to run to the barn in the middle of the night. Just go snap off one of those things and out you go. And you don't take the whole light, so you didn't leave nothing for anybody else. Yeah, it's just been fantastic. We love it. We love it. It's so good. And I've never seen another one for sale. I have no idea. I would love to have a second one, and I don't even know where I would go to find one. I can't find them anywhere.
So if you've reached this point in the podcast and you know of where we can get one of these Coleman lanterns, please leave us a comment. Share this with someone that might know. Share, subscribe. Come on. Oh, but when you said Coleman lantern, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, the propane one, the one that sits on top of the propane tank, and it's got the 2 globes and the glass, and okay, whatever. But wow, that's cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. And it just, for, you think in a family or in a group setting, you don't want just one light that if you need to take a light somewhere, you take everyone's light. Mm-hmm. You got 4 options that you can snap one off and go.
That would have come in handy about an hour ago.
I mean, I always carry a light on me anyway. I carry a flashlight as part of my EDC. So like, it's not like I'm ever without a light, but not everybody does that. Right. I'm not going to expect my 6-year-old to carry a flashlight everywhere they go.
So I'm 6 now.
All right, on to you, Ben.
Number 2 is a chainsaw. Not
Very
Yep.
And not something that's a monster, something that's relatively moderately sized, has a pretty generic chain size, so most things will fit, and files are easily accessible. I guess that's probably influenced by how I grew up. I grew up going to lumberjack competitions, and yeah, they're competitions, but you see people carving with them. You see the modifications that are done to them. You see the many ways. You see how durable they are. you get to see, and then my dad was a chainsaw carpenter, so we built our hunting camp with a chainsaw. That was it. And they were out from the bottom corner to the upper corner. They were out a 16th of an inch.
Wow.
So, being proficient with a chainsaw, and I've worked with people on arborist, tree care jobs, and seen the utility of them there, and managing the trees around your house, managing the trees on your woodlot. I technically don't have a homestead of my own right now, so I'm kind of out of the league a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be a staple. I guess it's not really gadget. I'm reevaluating my list right now.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot, Ben. And
Sure.
On the record, Husqvarna or steel?
I knew that was coming.
I own a Husqvarna.
Traitor.
But one of the biggest regrets I have as far as chainsaws is selling it's either the 361 or the 261 or the 362. I can't remember which one it is, but that steel has perfected art, science, whatever you want to call it, of making a chainsaw. It's like their carbs, the power to weight ratio, that 261 or 362 is quite arguably the best power to weight ratio chainsaw on the market. Now, that being said, Husqvarna has made leaps and bounds from their supposed bumble of going to an electronic auto-tuned carb. And I forgot that my chainsaw was that auto carb, because I, fired it up and went to hit the throttle and it just bogged out and died. I'm thinking, why did it do that? And did it again. Oh, right. So I fired it up and I let it sit on the ground for a minute, shut it off, fired it back up again, roared to life. So Husqvarna also has, at least here in North America, they have a lot smaller social media presence. So their promotions and stuff aren't quite as high. So you see a lot more steel, but it's hard to get. Like, there was a time where, there was like Steel and Husqvarna, and then there was like, Echo, Bulin, and all the other ones way down low, but it's pretty hard to get a bad chainsaw. But Husky and Steel tend to be the two top dogs normally.
Yeah, we always were Husky people growing up. Dad had an old, I don't even remember what it was now. Anyway, an old Husqvarna. That thing, we ran that thing into the ground. We used it for over a decade until it basically couldn't be fixed anymore. We ran over it with vehicles and just dropped trees on it and everything. And then he actually, so when that one sort of finally died, and he decided we also got to the point where we need a lighter chainsaw. He actually ended up buying one of those Echo chainsaws, which I don't know. They're probably maybe like a knockoff brand, I guess. They kind of look like a Husqvarna.
They sort of orange color scheme, right?
Yeah.
But I think Echo is made in Taiwan. They were very aggressively coming after the timber sports and lumberjack community for sponsorship and stuff. They have also made leaps and bounds in their power ratio. They were relatively underpowered when they started, but they're coming along. The one experience that I have as far as Echo, Steel, Husky, as far as like felling trees in the woods, one winter cutting firewood, the Echo was the only saw that ran. The Steel and the Husky wouldn't run in the winter. In the cold,
interesting.
Snow, for whatever reason, both were outfitted with their winter carburetor systems, and neither stayed running. And the Echo ran like a top. That's what cut the firewood that winter.
Well, you know what they say about something that's not built to really tight tolerances. Sometimes it runs better in adverse conditions. It's kind of like the AR-15 versus AK-47 argument. The AK-47 is so poorly built, it can run in really bad conditions because it's got no tolerance in the parts. Anyway, we've been really happy with it. It works good just for the, the homestead type stuff we do with it. It's not like we're working with it every day in the woods, but.
As far as I know, Echo, that was also a big selling point, was they had the best warranty. It's like 5-year unlimited warranty or something like that for time running. So,
yep.
Now
Right, Dan.
You'd deliberately like run an Echo chainsaw in the mud. Just keep going.
Couldn't give it the torture test.
We on
All right, Dan. Yeah. Number 3, or are we still on number 2?
Oh, number 2. I didn't get.
We're still on number 2.
I'm going to go with the battery pack. Option. One made by Anchor. It's a 20,000 milliampere pack. So something you can drop in a pocket if you have big pockets. So it's great for, I think you get, 8 to 12 charges or something like that. So for something that will charge a device pretty quickly, pretty decent on the weight. It's not too awkward, but it's big enough that you're getting more than 2 charges out of it. So I like that. I don't want something undersized because I don't know that I'll get back and charge it again right away. I want to be able to get many charges out of it. So that's something I've found super handy to lug around, especially if I've got a lot of stuff on the go, and my cell phone is my go-to for getting stuff done, looking stuff up. And if I'm using it all day instead of just carrying it, the battery life is just going to get sucked out of it. So having it on the go power source is super handy.
Yeah, that would be good if you're out and about, or even if you do a lot of traveling and things like that. Having a good one would be good for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I know airports now have the charging ports everywhere, but they didn't used to. Used to be if you wanted the power, you had to carry it.
I saw someone say something online here. I don't know, what is it? 2019, 2020, before like everything got like clamped, shut down. And they were saying, oh, you need to be careful where you plug which USB port you plug your phone into. It could be a pirate USB port and is stealing all your data off your phone. I thought, okay, we'll just bring a charging brick. There's usually outlets too. But
yeah, so my third thing, I don't know, this is kind of weird. A 3D printer.
Oh. The gadget that makes the gadgets.
The gadget that will make the gadgets. Exactly. And
okay, you're thinking ahead.
Yeah.
This is like asking for more wishes, Owen.
Yeah. Right. I'm not going to be restricted to 5 gadgets because I can just make more gadgets at whim. No, I've got a couple of 3D printers and done a fair bit of work to learn 3D design with an AutoCAD. And I have found all kinds of nifty uses for that, and making parts and being able to recreate parts that I maybe couldn't get, or I wanted something custom made, and I was able to design it and 3D print it, and use it. Like, for example, we bought a fridge and it was it wasn't secondhand, but it was one of these sort of scratch and dent type places. And got it home, and the one of the little plastic brackets that holds the handle on, it was like a 2-door fridge, holds the bracket on, was busted. Well, so anyway, it was one of those things. I was like, how am I going to find this little plastic piece? Like, you go on the website and the parts list didn't even list it, on the company website. Like, it was such an insignificant little piece. And so I just took the other one off. I took the handle off, removed the other one that was at the top, sat down with a micrometer with my digital calipers, I guess, and my AutoCAD and recreated it in my AutoCAD, 3D printed it, screwed it onto the fridge. It's still there. It's been a couple years later.
Nice.
So like little things like that. I don't know. There's been I've made all kinds of doodads and this and that, but plastic parts, my daughter's bow. There was a piece missing on the sighting system. I can't remember if it broke or it was lost, or I don't know what the story was. I can't remember now. I just sat down and recreated it on Fusion and then 3D printed one.
That's cool.
Like, would I want to trust my life to the 3D printed part? Nah, probably not. But for those sorts of things, worked pretty good.
Cool.
Oh.
My number 3 was the Impact, which we've beat to death already.
Right.
So Owen had a light on his list. I went with a light at number 3. Like typical, like everyday carry type light, though, not a larger camping light. And it's the Streamlight Stylus Pro, 2 AA's. Very slim. About the length of a pen, I would say. I love that flashlight. I've got a couple of them, and it's fantastic to have. They get really good use out of the 2 AA's. It's not high-end brightness if you want something that's really going to light stuff up, but for all normal, typical uses, when you need to grab a light, I think.
How many lumens?
Let me see.
You said is it the Streamlight Micro? Which one is it? Did you say?
The Stylus Pro.
Oh, the Stylus Pro. Okay, so 250 lumens.
Let's see if I've.
We're definitely doing an EDC show.
Yeah, we should. We really should, actually.
Yeah. It's got a high and low, so
yeah,
I'm not sure what the top end is. So I think they make one, 250.
I think it's 250 on high and 90 on low.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's a really good amount of lumens for an EDC. I'm more of a Fenix guy, and so I carry a Fenix, which is similar to AA's. I noticed the trend lately in flashlights is to have rechargeable flashlights that you plug in.
Yep. Streamlight has one that's almost identical, but it's got a little micro USB port in the cap.
I haven't really gone that route. I'm not as big a fan of those. I want my EDC light to be able to use batteries that I would find anywhere.
Yep.
But
here's the interesting thing. I think they use the same body for the flashlight, and it's simply a different end cap and the rechargeable batteries.
Gotcha.
So you can set up so that you could swap it out and go back to conventional alkaline AA's.
Yeah. Interesting.
3D printer. 3D printer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can do threaded aluminum in the 3D printer yet, but
yeah, that's true. Very true.
It's the 250 lumens. That's very respectable for that size of a light. So number 4, my number 4, and this is going to be such a cliche. Nuclear grade duct tape. Did you know there's grades of duct tape?
Nope.
Well, I knew there were different colors. You gotta have mechanical duct tape and all that. But
there's different grades, and one of the grades you can buy is nuclear grade.
Nuclear or nuclear?
Either one. Either one, depending on how redneck you are.
Nuclear, yeah, that was pushed. Nuclear grade duct tape.
Listen, I'm a fan of the penguins from Madagascar. I love nuclear.
So I discovered nuclear, whatever, duct tape a number of years ago, and I bought a few rolls of it. And that stuff is just, frankly, it's amazing. And I asked my brother-in-law who works in a nuclear plant, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we use that." I'm like, "Oh, that's real comforting." Technicians are holding the plutonium together with duct tape, but
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I use it for all sorts of things. I use regular duct tape for places where it's maybe not so critical, but when I really need something to hold together and be more UV resistant and just stick, the nuclear grade duct tape is where I go.
Interesting. So what grade would Gorilla Tape be then?
Don't know. Never used it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never used it.
That's the tougher option that I go for versus standard
Okay.
Gorilla Tape. That's what I tape my Axe boxes with when it goes overseas.
Yep. Yeah, I'd have to get some and try it to see how it compared. Now, well, there's another show. We need to do a side-by-side duct tape comparison because that is really great podcast content.
Practicality. Here at the Changing Normal podcast, we don't want you wasting your money on just regular duct tape. We want you to use the best duct tape, not just Gorilla Tape, but nuclear.
Yeah, that's right. We're going with the nuclear option.
Well, something I learned recently when I saw a photo online is somebody a picture out a plane window, passenger plane, and someone was applying tape on a piece of the wing. And I was like, no, this has to be a joke. And there's an actual thing called speed tape that they do apply to aircraft.
It's got trace amounts of LSD in it. All right.
Goodness.
What's your number 4?
A solid fixed blade knife.
Yeah. So a chainsaw is not good enough, eh?
Well, more for the finer art of cutting. Chainsaw can take the head off the chicken, but the fixed blade knife is what's going to process the rest of it. Preferably a locally made, hand forged blade out of a leaf spring of a truck.
Probably specific, but we'll accept that answer.
It's nuclear rated. I would wager.
Is it true that steel absorbs radiation, or is that a myth?
Ooh, I've never heard that before.
Really?
But I'm not a radiation expert. But
I'll have to look that up another time. My number 4 useful gadget for the homestead is a commercial grade vacuum sealer. Super handy to have, Yeah. Either way, one of the heavy duty uses we put it through is packaging chicken. So if we're chopping up that chicken and sealing it up.
What's left when you're done with the chainsaw?
Oh, yeah.
You can stuff all the remnants in a vacuum seal bag and.
The moose may have encountered the chainsaw, but the chicken. Besides the tool to meet the job. So despite the little issues I had a month back with the heating element and having to carry that, it still is one of the handiest tools. And spare parts supply is actually super handy.
Hey, now no sneaking a 6th thing in the list. So yeah, my fifth thing, this is where I was going to go with a tool, and I didn't really consider chainsaw. Yeah, I didn't consider a chainsaw, but I kind of like waffled back and forth between my impact driver because I use that a ton. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I often will grab, and I think probably for general use around a homestead is more versatile, is a quality socket set.
Now, see, I had adjustable wrench for that one.
Oh, yeah. See, that, there you go. There you go.
Finally getting
adjustable wrench.
Adjustable wrench, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Is it standard or metric?
Yeah, I was just going to say. You literally stole the joke right out of my... I was just about to say, yeah, but you still have to buy two because you need a standard and a metric one.
Oh, right. Oh my goodness.
And Ben just gets the joke.
I just got it. It's like, what joke are they making? I don't get it. Probably should not be hosting a podcast. Hey Ben, show up to this gadget conversation. Here, guys, here's my list of tools.
Yeah, a good quality socket set, a large enough size. It's got has the screwdriver bits and also the like regular box wrenches in it as well, not just sockets.
Oh, that's handy. My
then you
doesn't have wrenches.
Yeah, I always buy the size where I can get the most common, 9/16, half inch, 7/16, 3/8 wrenches, because sometimes a socket just doesn't cut it. Yeah, so that I'm partial to Stanley, but a lot of people, if you can afford Snap-on, great. Yeah, that's my tool set of choice. If I had to pick one tool, that would be it. Because if you get the one with the screwdriver bit and the adapter, most of them come with a little screwdriver adapter. You could put screws in or out, but without a socket set, my impact isn't going to do anything. So that's why I went with that.
Right on.
So I guess I'm choosing the metric adjustable because I'm Canadian. So that's what I go with. Yeah, obviously not very well prepared. But it's interesting to see a different side of what people think gadgets are, I guess. We'll go with that. These are the gadgets in my life.
Well, there was no rules, remember? Like
give me a wide berth, I'll take it all.
So what was your fifth thing, Ben?
Just an adjustable wrench.
Oh, right, adjustable wrench.
But not like a sizable one, so that
you could use it as a club to beat a raccoon to death with.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
What about you,
projectile?
Oh, great all-around tool. So my number 5, something I've got recently and have been really liking having, is a set of wireless earbuds. And actually, I've got them right here. Got a little case with the battery. We got the 2 earbuds. This is the Soundcore Life P2, made by Anchor. And these have been fantastic. The battery life has really surprised me. They'll hold out all day. So
Anchor products are. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. I was just gonna say, super handy. You can swap out some. I can use one at a time, and if I need to get out the other one, swap that one back in so it's charging. You can do that. Doesn't get in the way the wired ones were. I was finding they were just a pain in the butt to be trying to do work stuff with a wired set of headphones. Anyway, so moving past that, got the Bluetooth upgrade, and I'm loving that.
How are they for falling out of your head? Like pretty secure?
Not perfect, but they're okay.
Okay. I got an Anchor Bluetooth receiver for the vehicle.
Mhm.
Could not be happier with that thing. Both on now when I take a phone call through it, if I'm not holding it right here, it picks up everything. Like if I just like slide my finger across it, it picks it like people like, what's all that static? What's going on? You sound like you're in a spaceship. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, just hold it like a microphone, talk into it. But yeah, the battery life on the Anchor product has been insane. Well, gentlemen,
That wraps that up.
that's I think that was a lot. That was a lot of fun.
That was.
It was, yeah.
So we got some stories in the news. But first, I got to read the boostergram if Fountain will load it quick enough. So we had a boostergram from at Canadian Farmstead again, and I'm not sure.
Just read it.
Sure. Well, it's loading.
Oh, okay.
But what I was going to say was the Canadian Farmstead has been a very, very faithful listener and has boosted just about every episode for the last 10 episodes.
Yes.
And generally when Canadian Farmstead boosts, it's 100 sats. This time at Canadian Farmstead boosted 300 sats and said, very disappointed in this episode. Far too much critical thinking. This is on episode 21. This week's tin is next week's hat. I tuned in to hear how the lizard people are controlling us from the caverns under Antarctica. That would explain why my greenhouse was not finished before the first frost. I mean, that is gold. That is so gold.
Oh, that's great.
So thank you very much for that. That's as far as I can tell, that's all of the listener feedback that we've had for the last week. But we do have some news stories, and I think for once I've actually not put a news story in. It's the first episode I haven't put a news story in. Oh boy, we're really falling off the turnip wagon here this week. All right, so the first one looks like three-part tweet.
Yeah, so this was just something I came across on the very rare times that I go on the channel Twitter page. I still don't really understand how Twitter works. I just can't get, nothing is where it should be. But anyway, this basically was a 4-part post about how they are in Africa. They're utilizing Bitcoin over Lightning without the internet. And this caught my eye because this is one of the common questions we get. They're going to take down the internet, man. And, what do you do with electronic money without the internet? And so I haven't fully researched this to understand exactly how it all works. But it seems like people are doing sort of local-ish transactions with their phones using a USSD code. So they're sending to a Lightning address using an app that they use on their phone with just airtime. It's a custodial solution, like it's a custodial thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't want to use it. You're not going to keep all your Bitcoin there. Right. But doing everyday transactions, they seem to be able to do this without having any actual like data uptime in the moment.
Wow.
So that's kind of an interesting solution for people who maybe have spotty internet or the situation where the internet is kind of up or down in a grid compromised situation. You still could do transactions without having that constant data up time.
That's really cool. All right, what else? So we got hang on here. Apple's iPhone 15 could have USB-C charging after the
The European Union has brought in a rule that they basically want all devices to use a single type of charger. They say it's to reduce electronic waste and so on. So there will be no more proprietary charging systems for phones and notebooks, stuff like that. So that's interesting.
Right, but
they mandated USB-C as the charging solution, and that will kick in at the end of 2024. So Apple using a totally proprietary system. It's interesting that they're going to be forced to switch. And the interesting note is it said they wouldn't make this switch just for the European market. If they're going to have to do it for Europe, it means they're going to do it for the world. So all of Apple products will be moving with Lightning over the next few years, it seems like. So a bit of a change.
Oh, that's a huge change. That's actually been the biggest one of the biggest pros for me with Apple was the fact that their charger was solid. In my mind, the USB-C is a flimsy charger.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Just
USB-C is an upgrade over the micro USB, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The older one is crap, honestly.
Well, okay. Yes, I agree. I agree. Like obviously the C is here as an upgrade, but in my opinion, having a little fin inside your phone, that is not a great. That's not like. I mean, unless you're. Most people utilize their phone while it's charging, correct?
Yeah, some people probably do.
Yeah, I often try to, and I can't.
Yeah,
because
I've had phones where I've had phones where that internal fin for a USB charging system. Apple used to have a USB charging system like that. It was about an inch wide, like the old original iPhone, whatever, iPhone 3. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, I had one. And then when they moved to the Lightning chargers, I was thinking, holy smokes, that's awesome. It's like an actual solid charger. Is like, I mean, the cord might break, but it's a cord. Like you can, the charger, you just buy a new charger. You don't have to buy a new phone because the charging part in your phone broke. Anyway, that's. I also find it kind of funny that Europe is mandating a universal charging system, but they're not going to make all of the EU use the same wall plugs. Oh my goodness. So infuriating. Anyway.
It's interesting. I've mostly moved to wireless charging.
Okay. Do you find your phone gets hot or too hot? No?
No.
Maybe mine's just old.
It depends on the case. Could be yeah, my old phone did get hot. My new one does not.
Okay. Cool.
The only place I use a cord is in my vehicle.
Fair.
If I need to charge my vehicle, but at home I have a cord or a wireless charger, just a docking station essentially. Mm-hmm. So when I go to bed, plunk it on there, done. Right. And that just saves wear and tear on the plugging it in and out all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
You do have to be careful what sort of case you use, though. Because if you have any metal on your case, yeah, she heats up. Big time. Yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
I can imagine.
And now Dan can talk about the Kardashians. He's been just waiting to talk about the Kardashians, his favorite Kim Kardashians in the news, and he wants to talk about it.
No, there's a reason behind this one. Dan doesn't just do something fully facetiously like me.
So, anyway, this is an interesting case where the Security Exchange Commission in the U.S. charged Kim Kardashian. I think they ended up making her pay out over $1.25 million for promoting a altcoin on Instagram without disclosing that she was being paid to promote it. There's the type of post where it's like not financial advice, but my friends have been telling me this, and it had a link to a business that was selling Ethereum Max, which I think it is an Ethereum fork. I didn't even bother looking it up. I haven't heard of it before. It was trading for well under a penny. There was like 6 zeros after the decimal point on the price of this coin. So
whoa,
one of those. So yeah, but if you'd been an Instagram follower and took your advice, your investment advice from celebrities, you would have lost over 90% of the value of your investment to date.
Holy smokes. Whoa. I was going to say, I saw Kim Kardashian and went, wait, Dan said we weren't interested in pop culture. We were trying to change the normal, not delve into it.
I think the lesson to take away from this is don't listen to celebrities and what they're promoting, especially if they pretend that they aren't being paid to do it. They are actors getting paid to speak lines is what they do. You do not expect anything else. And don't invest in things just because you see some post, or even if somebody tells you, man, this is awesome. It's like, you got to buy Shiba Inu. It's going to be the next Doge.
High aspirations.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Do your own research.
Yep. Definitely be thoughtful when you're investing, and don't wing it based on Instagram posts, people. Not the way to do it.
And with that, thanks for listening to this extra long episode of the Changing Normal podcast. Remember, take small steps, be creative, normal every day.